Before starting, put the auto-generated YouTube subtitles in French or your mother tongue to get everything. And slow down or speed up the pace as needed. If you don't have time to watch it, just listen this video as a podcast while doing something else. Now listen and learn English as exploring our world. Hey guys, you know I love a good mystery, and today we're diving into one that's got the whole world spooked. They say there's a flight, a cursed flight, that no airline will touch. It's whispered in hushed tones in airport bars, shared on forums where the curious gather, a story, a legend, about a flight haunted by an unknown force. Is it real, this cursed flight? No one knows for sure, but the stories, the testimonies, they paint a picture so real, so terrifying, that it's impossible to ignore. Buckle up, guys, because this one's a doozy. It all starts with a number, a simple combination of digits assigned to a routine flight. But this was no ordinary flight. This one was different. From the beginning, it seemed to attract trouble. Reports of near misses, strange malfunctions, whispers of shadows moving in the aisles. At first, they were dismissed as coincidence, bad luck. But as the incidents mounted, a chill settled over the legend of this flight. People began to whisper. Was it the plane itself, the route it flew, or something more sinister? Whatever the cause, one thing was clear. This flight, this number, was becoming synonymous with fear. Airlines tried to ignore it. They changed the number, rerouted the flight, even switched out the aircraft. But the incidents kept happening. Passengers reported feeling uneasy, as if watched by unseen eyes. The question is, would you dare to board? Stay tuned, because we're about to take you deeper into the mystery. The legend of the cursed flight, it didn't begin with a bang. It started with a whisper, a hushed story, passed from pilot to pilot in dimly lit airport lounges. The story goes that the very first flight, the maiden voyage of this now infamous route, ended in disaster. It was a stormy night, they say, rain lashing against the cockpit windows. The plane, a brand new model, was packed with excited passengers, ready for adventure. But somewhere over the Atlantic, something went wrong, terribly wrong. The radio crackled with static, the instruments went haywire, and then silence. The plane vanished from radar, swallowed by the storm. They never found the wreckage, never recovered the bodies. It was as if the plane, the passengers, the crew, they simply ceased to exist. Now, officially, the disappearance of that first flight was blamed on the storm. Pilot error, equipment malfunction, a tragic accident, they called it. Case closed, but in the shadowy corners of the aviation world, a different story started to circulate. Rumors of a cover-up spread like wildfire. People whispered about strange cargo, about government secrets, about something on that plane that someone didn't want found. Some even claimed it was sabotage, a deliberate act to silence something or someone. Whatever the truth, the official story didn't sit right with everyone. Too many unanswered questions, too many coincidences. And so, the seeds of doubt were sown. The whispers continued, and the legend of the cursed flight began to take root. Now here's where it gets really creepy. After that first disappearance, other incidents followed. Planes bearing the same flight number, flying the same route, started experiencing a string of bizarre occurrences. Engines failing mid-flight, electrical systems going haywire, birds, flocks of them, colliding with the aircraft out of nowhere. Each incident on its own could be explained away. Mechanical failure, bad luck, a series of unfortunate events. But taken together, they formed a pattern, a chilling pattern that was impossible to ignore. It was as if the very number itself, the flight designation, had become cursed. And the more people heard about it, the more the legend grew. What started as whispers in airport bars soon spread beyond the aviation world. Newspapers picked up the story. Talk shows debated the possibility of a cursed flight. The legend was taking on a life of its own. The whispers about the cursed flight, they weren't just coming from passengers. Even seasoned pilots, hardened veterans of the sky, reported strange occurrences on this particular route. Captain Michael Thompson, a pilot with over 20 years of experience, remembers his encounter with the cursed flight vividly. He described a sudden loss of altitude, instruments going haywire, and a bone-chilling cold that swept through the cockpit. It was like an icy hand had gripped my heart, Captain Thompson recalled in a rare interview years later. I've flown through storms before, but this was different. There was a presence, an evil, that I could feel in the very air around us. But it wasn't just the pilots who were affected. Passengers, too, reported a range of disturbing experiences on the cursed flight. Some described a feeling of unease, a sense of being watched by unseen eyes. Others reported seeing shadowy figures moving in the aisles, figures that vanished into thin air when approached. One passenger, Emily Carter, recounted a particularly harrowing experience. She claimed that during a routine flight, she felt a cold hand grip her arm, and a voice whispered in her ear, "Turn back, while you still can." When she turned to see who was speaking, there was no one there. The seat beside her was empty. But amidst the darkness and fear surrounding the cursed flight, there were also stories of hope, stories of courage and compassion in the face of the unknown. Flight attendant Sarah Jenkins was working the night the cursed flight experienced a near-fatal engine failure. As panic gripped the cabin, Sarah remained calm. She moved through the aisles, comforting passengers, offering words of reassurance, and helping to maintain order. When asked later how she stayed so composed in such a terrifying situation, Sarah simply replied, "I knew I had to be strong for the passengers. They needed me." Her bravery, her unwavering spirit in the face of fear, became a beacon of light in the dark legend of the cursed flight, a reminder that even in the most harrowing of circumstances, human kindness can prevail. The most unsettling accounts are the whispers of unseen passengers, tales of feeling a presence, an ethereal chill, or glimpsing fleeting figures. Some describe a sense of being watched, a cold spot that follows them. Others recount seeing shadowy figures out of the corners of their eyes. One child pointed to an empty seat and asked, "Mommy, who's that sitting there?" His mother saw nothing. Now, you'd think with all these crazy stories the airlines would be freaking out, right? Well, they tried to keep it quiet, hush-hush. See, bad press, it's bad for business, especially when it comes to spooky, unexplained stuff. Airlines, they thrive on safety, on reliability. A cursed flight, that's a PR nightmare. So they did what they do best, damage control. Statements were issued, investigations were launched, but the findings, they were always the same, inconclusive. No evidence of sabotage, no mechanical failures, just a string of unfortunate coincidences. But behind the official statements, a different story was unfolding. A story of growing concern, of hushed conversations in boardrooms, and a scramble to find a solution to a problem they couldn't explain. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. When airlines started reporting these weird incidents to their insurance companies, things took a turn. See, insurance companies, they're all about numbers, about risk assessment. And the numbers surrounding this flight? They were off the charts. Too many accidents, too many claims, too many unexplained events that defied logic and reason. Word got around. The whispers, they reached the ears of the insurance giants, and they didn't like what they heard. Soon, insurance companies were flat out refusing to cover the cursed flight. It was deemed too high risk, too unpredictable. The airlines were facing a crisis. They couldn't operate a flight without insurance, and no one wanted to insure the cursed flight. Faced with mounting pressure and the very real threat of financial ruin, some airlines resorted to desperate measures. They changed the flight number, hoping to shake off the curse. They rerouted the flight, avoiding the path where previous incidents had occurred. They even went as far as switching out the aircraft, replacing the original plane with a brand new model, hoping that a fresh start would break the cycle of misfortune. But it didn't matter. The incidents continued. The curse, it seemed, was attached to the flight itself, not the plane or the route. The airlines were at their wits' end. They'd tried everything they could think of, but the curse of the flight remained unbroken. It was like an invisible force, a malevolent entity, was toying with them, determined to keep the legend alive. The legend of the cursed flight, it had become a self-fulfilling prophecy. The more people believed it, the more it seemed to hold true. Pilots, already on edge, were more likely to make mistakes. The media had a field day. The legend had taken on a life of its own. So, we've got these crazy stories, these unexplained events, but is the flight really cursed? Or could there be, a totally normal explanation? Something our brains are doing, you know? Psychologists, they study this stuff. They say our minds, they're powerful, man. They can play tricks on us, especially when we're scared or stressed. Think about it. You hear about a cursed flight, you get on that plane, every little bump, every weird noise, it's gonna freak you out, right? It's like when you're walking through the woods at night and every shadow looks like a monster. It's not really a monster, just your brain messing with you. And here's the thing. Fear, it's contagious, like a sneeze on a crowded plane. One person freaks out, then another, and another. Pretty soon, everyone's losing their minds. It's called mass hysteria. Remember that time everyone thought they saw a UFO, but it turned out to be a weather balloon? Same kind of deal. We see what we expect to see, even if it's not really there. So, maybe, just maybe, all these weird things happening on the cursed flight, they're not really supernatural. Maybe it's just a case of mass hysteria. People are so convinced the flight is cursed that they're actually making it happen, with their minds. But then again, there are those who say, nah, man, this is bigger than psychology. This is about something else entirely. They point to the unexplainable stories, the eerie coincidences, the feeling that something is amiss, something beyond our understanding. Could there be some kind of residual energy left behind from past tragedies? Some believe that traumatic events, especially those involving loss of life, can leave an imprint on a place, an object, even an airplane. These energy imprints, they say, can manifest in strange ways: cold spots, flickering lights, even ghostly apparitions. Is that what's happening on the cursed flight? Are the passengers and crew picking up on these residual energies, these echoes of past tragedies? Ultimately, guys, the answer to the mystery of the cursed flight remains elusive. Is it a case of human error, psychological phenomena, or something more paranormal? Maybe we'll never know for sure. But that's the thing about mysteries, right? They keep us guessing. They force us to confront the unknown, to question what we believe, and to consider the possibility that there are forces at work in our world that we may never fully comprehend. So next time you board a plane, take a moment to think about the stories, the legends, the mysteries that surround us. You never know, you might just be sharing your flight with something else. So there you have it, the story of the cursed flight, a tale of strange occurrences and terrified passengers. Is it just a spooky story? A bunch of coincidences blown out of proportion? Or is there something truly unexplainable at play? We may never know for sure. The cursed flight, it reminds us that even in this age of technology and reason, there are still some things we can't explain. It taps into our primal fears, the unknown, the things that go bump in the night. Next time you're at the airport, waiting for your flight, take a look around. Listen to the conversations. You might just hear someone whisper about the cursed flight, their voice hushed, their eyes wide with a mixture of fear and fascination. And maybe, just maybe, you'll feel a shiver down your spine as you board your plane, wondering if you'll be the next one to experience the mystery of the cursed flight.